Success doesn't always feel good. Isn't that a bummer? Have you ever gotten to a great accomplishment you worked really hard for, and then you get there and you're like, why was I so excited about this? Now I have to just move on. That is actually a hallmark sign of being a high impact person, a high achiever. And today on the Unlock Your Blocks podcast, I'm going to walk you through why this happens, where to find the joy that you thought you were going to find in that success, and how to make it more sustainable for you to go after success and then actually enjoy it. My name is Elyssa Smith. I'm a trauma informed executive coach, and I am a recovering perfectionist, people pleaser, imposter syndrome survivor, all the things. And the reason that we do have all those tendencies, especially the joy stealers and the energy drainers, is because of our nervous system. The nervous system's job is to just keep you in survival mode when you need to be because it perceives a threat. Well, back in cave person days, the threat would come and go. The wild animal would come, chase, and then they leave. And then you would be able to go back to your day to day, whatever you were doing, your hunting and your gathering. But now we have all of these devices and we have all the notifications going off and people that have access to us around the clock. So your nervous system never totally feels like there isn't a threat happening. And because of this, we spend a lot of our lives, especially if you're a high achiever, we spend a lot of our lives in survival mode. And what that does is it's sort of like soul sucks the joy out of all the good stuff that we're accomplishing, especially if you learned when you were younger that the way to safety, the way to avoid pain, the way to get more of what you needed was to work harder, be better, or do more. So that's how we become these high achievers. We go after that unknown, big, hairy goal. We go after the big stage that we want to speak on, or the big job that we want to have, or the fancy lifestyle that we're looking for, the abundance, the finances. We go after those things because it's the next big thing to go for. And that's what we were trained to do as kids. If you grew up in a home where you were praised for perfect performance or perceived perfect performance, or you were chastised for not performing perfectly, it doesn't really matter which end of the stick they use, your nervous system learned unless we're performing perfectly, unless we're going for that next big goal, we are not going to be okay. So then what happens? We go, we work hard, we're the hardest worker in the room, we accomplish the big goal, we play on, piano on the stage, or we speak on the stage, or we get the promotion, we get the pay increase, and then what? There's another big goal right in front of us that we're going after. The other thing that happens during this time that makes it so unenjoyable to actually accomplish your goals sometimes is that our nervous system normalizes what it knows. So if you don't know, like when I was preparing for my TEDx talk, I didn't know what it would be like to speak on that stage. It seemed like this huge deal. Like, oh my gosh, I knew very few people who had done one of these talks. And it was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be incredible. And then I joke, and I've told this before on other podcast episodes, I joke that I got off that stage and it was like, all right, well, that's done. Probably everyone's had a TEDx talk, is how my nervous system felt. So I have all these nervous system regulation techniques that I had to use, including, and this is I wasn't even planning on sharing this, but this is actually a juicy one. If you have a big accomplishment and your brain wants to go back and pick it apart, or if your brain wants to be like, oh gosh, now I have to go do the next thing, give yourself the 24-hour rule. The 24-hour rule means that when something big happens, you give yourself 24 hours where you don't evaluate it. Now, this can be harder in a job that demands that you have to evaluate something right after it happens. But I will tell you that if you're putting yourself out there and working really hard and being vulnerable for a goal, it's super helpful to the nervous system to not go back and evaluate or risk criticism of that goal just yet. Give yourself 24 hours, your system kind of calms down. I call it a vulnerability hangover. It's very real. If you speak on stages, you know what I'm talking about. But you might even get a vulnerability hangover from a bad conversation with a friend or from a weird conversation where you overshared. That's oversharing is something that we do as high achievers a lot of the time. And so even if you didn't share that much, but you're an introvert, you might feel like you overshared. And so your nervous system kind of goes into panic and it's like, oh gosh, what have I done? Depending on what you said. So give yourself the 24-hour rule. That's your bonus tip for the day, but that's not the exercise I want to walk you through that's going to help you enjoy your success. Okay. I'm going to help you with that in a second. I have a client who has been working with me on and off the last couple years, one-to-one clients. Once they work with me once, they can kind of come back and get like a boost through voice note support. And so she came back for a voice note, a support boost, and we've already worked through a lot of nervous system stuff for her. She's really expanded her internal capacity for success and ease. That's a big part of what I do is I help my high achieving clients experience ease inwardly even when they're moving at a quick productive pace outwardly. So she came back, we worked together for a month, and she had the most successful launch that she had ever had. And she made more money in 1 month than she had in 1 month ever. And she had been working for this and really, we had been kind of tweaking things in her processes, but mostly I was working with her on the nervous system pieces. And she came back after that, after the cart closed, and she was like, "Why doesn't it feel like a big deal?" And I said, "Because your nervous system is doing its job to try and keep you in survival mode about it." It normalized for her. It was like, this many thousands of dollars in 1 month has never happened before. And like the second it was happening, it was like, what is happening? And then the second it was over, it was like, that's not a big deal. Yeah, it's that everyone probably does that. And for her, even though she had never experienced it in her life, it instantly told her that's not a big deal. So if you're a minimizer, it probably comes from that same place where it's like your nervous system is trying to say, yeah, 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 where's the next big exciting thing? One of the things that I like about the ACA program, if you've ever heard of this, it's a free 12-step program. I highly recommend it. But one of the things I like in there is that they have this list called the laundry list traits. And it has all these traits that most of us who grew up as the responsible one, or if you've ever had any big T, little t, or tiny t trauma, you've experienced some things that put you in a place that you probably will relate to some of these traits. One of the traits is we became addicted to excitement. And I was really indignant when I first read that. I was like, I am not addicted to excitement. But what I started to understand is that my nervous system needed the next big thing to go up and be the hardest worker in the room for. And that cycle of chemicals, like the anxiety, am I going to do it? When's it going to happen? Am I doing it right? Working hard. I knew how to pull late nights. I knew, my best skills were in overworking myself and overthinking and over planning and oh my gosh, and procrastinating everything until the last second. And then it was really exciting. Come back for the exciting conclusion of did she get off the couch and get everything done by 3 a.m.? That was my life before I started regulating my nervous system and getting trained in some of these hidden types of trauma that cause us to be, a little addicted to that excitement cycle. Once the excitement is over, the nervous system begins to look for the next excitement. It's just a natural part of the cycle because our system starts to register when we're small. If you got accolades for doing well, or if you got chastised for not, it starts to look for the excitement of the perspective of the next big goal. So, do we stop to celebrate? Probably not. Do we stop to say, wow, that was amazing? Give ourselves a little pat on the back. Really sit with that accomplishment. It wasn't safe to do that when we were growing up. So even if you grew up in a childhood like mine where there was no danger if I did poorly, if I made a big mistake or if I didn't make the, I don't know, honor roll or whatever, I didn't get punished, but I also missed out on the connection and the affirmation that I craved from my parents if I didn't get the good things. They just kind of like moved on. So I needed that. I needed that affirmation. I needed that like next big hit of compliments and all the things. So as an adult who now has to regulate that part of me, that little child part of me that's like, but we need the next big affirmations and we need the next big, accomplishment so that everyone knows how important we are. It's a big order. It's a tall order for us as adults to say, well, actually, you're a big deal just because you are. You're a big deal because I like you. I care about you. Saying that to yourself is a big old deal, but it's something we weren't really trained to do. So let me walk you through what you can do if you want to actually enjoy your success. Here is what I call it. It's the let it land exercise. We have to actually learn a skill. If we're high achievers who don't usually stop to celebrate, we have to learn. It's a skill you can learn. We just were never taught that. But it's a skill you can learn to just let the success land for a second. Once you achieve that goal, once you have the biggest month of your career in your business, or once you get the promotion, or once you speak on that huge stage. And then you just take some time. For me, I use that 24-hour rule as my let it land place. Although I don't allow myself to go back and criticize or evaluate what I just did, I just celebrate the fact that I did it. Wow, I did that thing. And there are three components to the let it land exercise. Okay. So, in this exercise, the first thing that you want to ask yourself is, what did I accomplish? Even if it seems obvious, I did a TEDx talk, I had my biggest month of revenue ever, I got the promotion. Whatever it is, just name it. It's especially powerful if you can write this down. Now, I know some of us, I have a love-hate relationship with journaling. I'm pro journaling right now for myself, but I went through a non-journaling phase. Whatever you need to do to just really think about and make a note of, what did I accomplish? And then you look at what you're proud of about that accomplishment. So if, like, I was really proud for my TEDx talk that I didn't give up looking for the right talk. It's really, oh my gosh, reach out to me if you need help trying to go after a TEDx talk. It can be very challenging and confusing. But I was really proud that I didn't give up on that, and that I kept applying, and that I kept finding the right. I learned a lot in that process. It matters what your title is. It matters, what location you apply to. It matters what their theme is. There are a lot of things, and I started to get the hang of it, and then once I did, I landed the TEDx talk that I did, which I was able to be very proud of. In that process, I was proud of my hard work. I worked hard for that. My client that had her biggest month ever, her biggest launch ever, she was so proud of the fact that she was able to offload the other things that she needed to offload in order to make this her most successful launch. When you choose something that you want to be successful at, you have to be aware that you're choosing not to do other things. And so for her, that was one-to-one work. It was very hard for her to give up client one-to-one work. And so she gave that up. And it was a scary transition because she wanted to move more towards group programs instead of her one-to-one. And so she gave that up, and she was very proud that she had the courage to do that. So then you ask yourself, what did it cost me? And for her, it was the one-to-one clients, which, was very aligned with her direction. That might not be aligned for yours, but what did it cost? So for me, it cost learning how to delegate the parts of the TEDx process that I could. So I had an assistant that helped me do the research that I needed to do to find the right talks to apply to. For this client, it cost her some of the old mindsets that were keeping her doing a lot of one-to-one work that was taking up her time and energy when she needed that time and energy to be put towards something else. So it cost her that lesson, that learning how to grow that way. That was brilliant. It cost her time and effort, but it cost her also the growth that she needed. So for you, whatever that cost was, what did you pay for that accomplishment? And this is a great time too, after that 24 hours, to evaluate. Am I glad that it cost me that? Am I glad that I paid that for this? That's a really gentle way to prepare for next time, for your next big jump, for your next big expansion, for your next big quantum leap. Am I glad to pay what I paid for this past success that I'm celebrating right now? Or is it maybe better if I pay a different way or don't pay that much? Maybe it costs you sleep and you're not okay with that costing you sleep in the future. So you might decide to do it a little bit differently next time. That's okay. But it's all part of letting it land, letting that celebration sink in. Look what I did. Look where I'm proud of myself. Look what I paid for it. I'm proud of all of that. And once you can stop and do that, literally even just for 30 seconds, and really sink in. And the other thing that I add to this process, the let it land and then celebrate, whatever that is. So I have a client that was celebrating. I'm trying to think. There was something that she perceived as really small. Oh, she had cleaned out a room in her house. And she was like, yeah, but now I have to go to this other room and clean it out. See, we go on to the next goal, the next goal. But I said, wait, what are you doing to celebrate that you cleaned out that room? And she said, well, I've been eyeing this plant that I want to buy for my yard. And I think it would be really fun to order that and to plant it. And so she did, and she sent me a picture of it. And I was like, what a great celebration. She can now look at this plant and identify it with her success. So do those things, let it land, and then choose a way to celebrate. And then then you can move to your next goal. But let yourself celebrate, let it land, and you'll start to really enjoy your success. If you want to help your nervous system feel more safe like this, you can download my free PDF guide, 5 nervous system hacks that you can do at your desk or anywhere. And it will help you start to build trust with your nervous system that no matter how successful you are, no matter how much you enjoy your life, no matter how much ease you introduce into the next steps, no matter how many goals you go after, that you've still got yourself. You're still going to be taken care of and get your needs met. I hope you found this helpful. And until next time, take such good care of yourself.